Good morning, everyone. Sorry, lost connection here. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you join us today for the technical discussion group organized by SPE Java Indonesia section. I am Valentine's Perry from SPE Java Indonesia. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you, including our honorable speaker, moderators, students, professionals, and all participants that attend this session today. Thank you again for taking the time to be here, and let's have a productive discussion. So in this morning, we will have the technical discussion group webinar series number 2 on the navigating the energy transition, building skills for CCUS and CCS series. Again, thank you for appreciate and thank you for taking the time to join this webinar. So before we go ahead with the webinar, let me share some timetable first. When we go over the thank you, Mbak Fanya. So shortly after this, we're going to have an opening from our TDG division. Mbak Dian, as a chairperson, will open this session formally. And then we're going to have a moderator and speaker introduction. After that, we are going to have the main presentation. We aim to have that at 20 past 10. And we're going to continue with photo session. After that, we're going to have a Q&A. And after Q&A, please don't leave early because we will have some announcement and some links. If you do need to have certification or certificate, you need to input some feedback into our session today. Okay, we can continue with the next slide, Mbak Fanya. So before we move on with our agenda today, please let me ask Mbak Dian Permanasari from Technical Discussion Group and Distinguished Lecturer Division SPE Java to open this session formally. Mbak Dian, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mas Valen. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for your attendance. We really appreciate it. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Dian. I'm currently the Technical Program Chairperson of SPE Java Indonesia section. And together with me, we have Mas Valen, Mas Andri, Mas Sani, and of course, Mbak Fanya as well, who always help us to host these events, the technical discussion group events. So on behalf of the SPE Java TDG committee, I would like to welcome all of you to our regular technical discussion group webinar as part of our effort to disseminate knowledge to our SPE Java members and non-members alike. So this time we have the first out of 2 TDG sessions that we have prepared on the CO2 Huff and Puff injection topic in Jatibarang. So today we have the honor of having Mbak Debby from Pertamina Persero as the speaker and Mbak Annisa from NESR who will help us as the moderator. So the second session will be presented by Mas Aras next week, So please stay tuned. I would also like to thank you, thanks all the speakers and moderator beforehand. So I hope we can all gain some knowledge and have more insight on the topic being discussed this morning. Without further ado, that's it from me and over back to you, Mas Valen.
Thank you, Mbak Dian. Thank you for the speech. We can continue with Mbak Annisa. So let me introduce Mbak Annisa. Mbak Annisa Sekar Palupi currently work in NESR. She's going to be the moderator for this morning. I'll hand over the room to Mbak Annisa to properly introduce herself first and then guide us through this presentation. Thank you, Mbak Annisa. Over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mas Colin, for short introductions and welcome for all the participants to the very attractive and interesting sessions in SPE technical discussions group number 2. So before continuing and handovering to the speaker today, which is Bu Debby Halinda, so I think I would like to make a short introduction to the sessions 2 and 3 of SPE technical discussions group. So the sessions will be divided into 2 sessions. The first sessions will be today, 4th of November, which is overview of CO2 Huff and Puff injections in Jatibarang field. And the second sessions will be next week with Pak Aras, and this is gonna be CO2 Huff and Puff injection result and data analysis. So I think we could go to the next slide. Mbak. Okay. So before introducing Ibu Debby, so I think I'm gonna make a short brief about what we will have in this session, this very interesting session. So in October 2022, which is last year, Pertamina has been successfully perform or deliver CO2 Huff and Puff injections in one of the major fields, Jatibarang field, Indonesia. With this success story, it of course followed by a lot of technical learning curve and then operational learning curve. And this is the one that Bu Debby will be shared within these presentations, within the stations. And this is gonna be another knowledge for us. So this injection of CO2 Huff and Puff will be another game changer, I will say like that, for the future of EOR and CCUS. Of course, it will very relatable to energy transitions in Indonesia. So in these sessions, Ibu Debby will explain more about CO2 injections in operational overview, and this is a very comprehensive and very good presentation. And of course, don't forget to continue or to join another session next week, the analysis of the injections. So without waiting so long, I'm gonna introduce Ibu Debby. So Ibu Debby Halinda, you are already there.
Yes, thank you, Ibu Annisa.
Okay,
I'm here.
So, yeah, I'll start introductions, Ibu Debby. So I will later call her Mbak Debby because she's a very young and energetic. You could see Ibu Debby from the
Yes.
So good morning, Ibu Debby. As a short introduction to her profile, Ibu Debby is currently a role of position as a senior specialist at Pertamina URTI, or Upstream Research Technology and Innovation. So he's been working for oil and gas, building her career and her expertise in oil and gas for more than 7 years, I would say. Correct, Bu Debby?
Yeah.
So this
Correct.
7 years experience in oil and gas from Halliburton as a service company, and then moving to FICO, and then moving to BP, and then later on she moves to Pertamina Hulu Sanga Sanga, and currently is being one of the senior specialists at Pertamina URTI. So Ibu Debby is current focus is leading initiative for CCUS, which is also related to EOR, specifically for this project, CO2 injections Huff and Puff. Probably Bu Debby could explain more on her role, her interesting and a very strong role. So with this strong role on energy transitions, I think she is one of the, I would say, guardian of Indonesian energy transitions journey. So without waiting more, I think the slide could be hand over to Ibu Debby. Okay, so while Mbak Debby preparing of the slide, I think I'm gonna read some of the rules of this discussion. So these discussions with Mbak Debby will be divided into 2 sections. The first section will be a view of the half of the presentation, and then we could stop over there and we could start the questions and answer sessions for 3 or 4 questions, and Mbak Debby could answer the questions, and then after finish the short questions, and then we could go to another sessions or the last sessions of the presentation, and we can continue Q&A sessions until the end of the discussions. So there will be a chat box open during the presentations. You may ask through chat box first, and then once the question and answer sessions has been opened, I will ask directly to the one who asked the questions from the chat box, and then you may speak with Mbak Debby for more interactive Q&A. Agree, Mbak Debby? That should be okay?
Yes, that would be okay, Mbak Ica. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
Yes.
So there will be also photo sessions at the end of the presentation. So be prepared for having together photo sessions with this technical discussion group. All right, Mbak Debby,
Yeah.
I continue with the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mbak Ica. Actually, I would like to emphasizing that despite our moderator here, so that's why we are choosing this Mbak Ica as well for becoming the moderator, since she is also part of the operational of the Jatibarang as well. So I think I would like to say that we will have this together in a presentation. So any detailed operations that is included in this presentation as well as being delivered as well for the with the Mbak Ica in this case. So for the sake, since I might not having such a good connection, so in most of the presentations, I would like to close my video to be able for me to deliver the presentation or the slide pack of presentations in more better quality.
Yep.
So
It will be okay, Bu.
okay, good morning and thank you everyone for your all attendance here. I would like to say hello to lots of our colleagues that attend at this session right now. I could see, I would like to give my thanks to Pak Aye, Mbak Cindy, Mbak Belladonna. I cannot mention one by one over here, but I would like to say thank you so much for everyone that would like to come today, this morning, to have me to some sharings about this case study of the CO2 injections half and puff. So these injections of the Jatibarang field, it's been started by last year, actually in 2022. For today, it will be having a more overview of the operational and some of the explanations on how and what, why and why we are doing this. And then by next week, it will be in more detail. We'll discuss about the results and analysis on how it have the results and in what would be the next step for this Jatibarang. So this presentation's outline will be consist of the 5 outline agenda. Then we will break after the 3rd agenda of the main injection for having the Q&A will be led by Mbak Annisa, Mbak Ica, and then for having some questions. And then after that, we will continue for the operations activities and challenges. There will be lots of pictures over here. There will be one of the video that will share in summary on how this project been done. And then hopefully you won't get so boring. And feel free to put in the chat box to raise your hand, and it will be guided by Mbak Ica for having any questions of in this slide of presentation. So I would like for starting with the introductions of the CO2 injections, half and puff. As the background on how we are doing this CO2 half and puff, this is one of the steps of the CCUS, part of the CCUS. It will be considered as a CCUS. It is the first initial pre-pilot, I would say that, for the CO2 EOR. This is part of how we are proof of the concept, and then to see on how the injections of the CO2 can be done with the more practical and economical by using the method of the half and puff. And why is that? Because the CO2 requirement would be much more or less compared to the full scale. So by that one, we thought we are having more installations of the pipeline, so the cost will be less and the execution of the work is going to be much more simpler, since we are going to do the injections on that well and then we are going to produce from the same well. The objective for that is we are going to have the injection trials in Jatibarang. The first, what we are going to do at the very beginning is for the 3 wells, but then we end up with 2 wells. And then the main objective is to obtain of the CO2 reservoir injectivity data, as well to have assess the effect of the CO2 injection in this Jatibarang oil reservoir in several terms of the physical properties, saturations of the oil, and then how the behavior and the phase changes of the CO2 during pumping. And for sure, at the very end, during the path, we would like to see how the effect on the oil recovery on that. Even though the incremental of the oil would not be our main goals or objective, but how the oil recovery, the mobility of the oil behaving, that also one of our objectives that we would like to achieve at the beginning. Corrosions as well is becoming one of our objectives, and then we would like to see on more in a long term. We are not having the idea yet so far, but what the idea that I want to achieve is during the half and puff, like 5 days, what will be the corrosion effect at least to the tubular, or during the puff, what would be the effect on the production tubing on that. And for sure, this half and puff will be our basis for the technical evaluations to a further full scale or more massive field scale implementation plan. And then several initiatives that we were doing as a Pertamina in this case, but I would like to emphasizing at the 4th one for the CO2 UR and in Jatibarang. We are not doing that alone, because we are having a partners from the JOCMEC from Japan to do this project actually. And then so with these partners, we are having to we are both having mutual strategy collaboration, as well for the cost sharing, as well the risk sharing in this one. So several initiatives is been done as well, as you can see it at this slide. But at this very moment, at this very slide, the emphasizing is for having the Jatibarang as one of the actual implementations that been done last year. So this is the timeline on how we are doing the project. First, it was started on 30th of August in 2022. And then to make this timeline explanation shorter, the first injections of the first well been done in October 2022. And then continuing with the second well, this is the green one. Sorry, this is the blue one. This is October. And then in December, we are having the second well of the CO2 injections in GTB 137. So in total, for Jatibarang field, we are having 2 injections in 2 wells. In between of those wells is 2 months only. So this is a pretty aggressive project. So I would like to give my gratitude to all the hard work that been done by the Pertamina EP Regional 2 Zone 7, that having us the opportunity to have it in a very speedy operation and in a safely way. So this is the timeline. We can have in more discuss, but I would like to continue with the slide for the operational and also the technical explanation. Before that, I would like to put that this is the video that we are try to compile to give you some idea on how this project is been done. So this is going to be like a 4 minutes video. So please bear in mind and take your patience to see this, because this is a compilation to have some idea on how we are doing this project, as well collaborations with the partners.
Pertamina as collaborator for the CO2 injection project in Jatibarang to oversee the strategical collaboration with all related parties such as Jokmek, SKK Migas, and Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Indonesia. SKK Migas and Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Indonesia as government representative is responsible for formulating and conducting policy in the field of development, in which for the future CO2 project of CCS or CCUS implementation will be one of the major support. Jokmek is a strategic partner of Pertamina for a net zero carbon society and engaged in the CO2 injection project in Jatibarang as a part of Asia Energy Transition Initiative or AETI promoted by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry Japan. Natural gas contains approximately 23% CO2 produced from the production of Pertamina EP Subang wells in the process through the Subang CO2 removal plant to produce sweet gas. CO2 gas from the separation of CO2 removal plant is processed through the liquefaction plant into liquid CO2 and stored in storage tanks. Liquid CO2 is transported through ISO tank truck to Jatibarang field for injection CO2 Huff and Puff at Jatibarang well 161. Prior CO2 injection into the well, liquefied CO2 first will have to be heated through several steps. At the first step, CO2 ISO tank will be connected with high pressure pump to transfer liquefied CO2 to evaporator. In evaporator, the CO2 will be heated and temperature will increase from -20 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees Celsius, transforming CO2 from liquid state into gas state. CO2 will then flow to electric heater to be heated further. Here, the CO2 temperature will continue to rise up to 25 degrees Celsius, which is designated target from simulation model to achieve optimum Huff and Puff result. Next, gaseous CO2 is injected to a depth greater than 1,100 meter underground at well JTB 161. CO2 travels down to the wellbore to a determined location within the carbonate reservoir formation as the injected CO2 will mix with the oil formation. The oil will swell and reduce the viscosity, allowing the oil to flow easier in the formation. The injection process will continue until 200 tons cumulative CO2 injection achieved. The well will then be closed for soaking period. After that, the well will be opened and put back into production to measure oil production increase and trapped CO2. As an energy company, Pertamina has a great responsibility to be a pillar of achieving net zero emissions in the country with the principles of affordability and fairness. Pertamina targets to reduce carbon dioxide or CO2 to 81.4 million tons by 2060. Pertamina would like to acknowledge Jokmek as strategic partner for this project collaboration. As we all know, no innovation without collaboration.
Okay, I hope that video doesn't take too long for you guys to see, but that's a compilation of what we are doing in the Jatibarang. Actually, it was such an honor for us for having that been executed. Hopefully, for Pertamina in this case, there could be repetitions for the next upcoming project that we can have. So it's not yet done any yet after those Jatibarang, but hopefully we will do very soon in the other project for the other locations in Pertamina in Sukawati. So for the overview of the Jatibarang itself is actually in this slide, it's been mentioned that it is an onshore. It's located in the Jatibarang, West Java. It's operated by the Pertamina EP. It's called Zone 7. It's discovered from 98. So what we are doing for the locations, for the reservoir is in the carbonate reservoir, and it was stated is Lapisan F or at the reservoir F. So this is the how the distributions of the Jatibarang structures that we had right now in the Jatibarang. It is at the red box that you can see on the map over here. And then the methodological approach that we are trying to do for this half and puff. The half is while we were doing the injection. This is the injection stage while we were doing the half. And then after the half, we are soaking the well, or we are shutting the well, or we are closing the well. This is to be able to do the mass transfer to occurs intermediate between the hydrocarbons, which is extracted into the CO2. And then after that, we are doing the puff, the one that we are going to produce back from the well. So the half and puff methodological approach is we are doing the injections from the well, and then we are going to have the productions at the same well. So it's a bit a different approach with the interference well, in which we are having the producers and the injectors well. So the main objective is to investigate the immiscibility or admissibility of the CO2 water and evaluate the injectivity into the formation for the assessment. The expected result for sure is that we will have hopefully the oil rate the increase, as well the water cut reduction, and then some oil saturation reductions due to the sweep effect. And then the simulations been done for the wells for this Jatibarang as the preliminary evaluations in a sectoral mode. So the sectoral mode, it means since we knew that the injections volume that doing for this well is not flooding, so the sectoral mode would only cover is not in a full field scale, but in in the wells itself and within the adjacent wells. So if everyone wants to have some idea on how the wells that we are injecting looks like, so actually for both wells, it's considered as a vertical well. So it was in a 1,000 meters in average of the depth target interval in which equal to 3,000 feet with the reservoir pressures in average is 750 psi. It's not it would be considered as a depleted reservoir in this case, with the porosity in the range of 25 to 28%, and the oil rate for this candidate for this well, the specific wells of these two wells would be considered as a 10 to 22 barrels oil per day. We will see later on at the very last slide on how the impact of the CO2 half and puff would be some effect for the oil rate after the CO2 injection. The permeability in here is considered medium, fair, but as well we knew that probably, possibly, that carbonate reservoir indeed having some heterogeneity over here. As we can see for the water rate, it's having more than 90% of the water cut for this reservoir. In more details, for the analysis, it's been done, including the RFT and everything. We are going to have in more detail on next week that will be presented by Bapak Aras. So this is actually the first basis injections design that we are doing for both of the wells. So the injection phase in the wellhead will be in the gas phase of the CO2 with the injections volume that we are planning of 200 tons, which with the injection rate of 80 tons per day. And then our estimations of the wellhead pressure injections in the range of 500 psi. The soaking period will be 7 days. And then there are lessons learned for that. So that's why at the second wells, in average, our soaking time period will be 40 days. So this is the basis of design of the CO2 half and puff for Jatibarang, both wells. And then let's see for how the workflow and the timeline, actual timeline of this Jatibarang field. So this is a timeline for both wells actually. So we can see over here the first injections of GTB 161. The first well was done in the week 4 of October. And then as we can see over here, the soaking period will take around 14 days. So what we are having over there is we are having the gauge. That's why we are having the memory gauge retrieval. And then I was emphasizing that in this job, we are having the saturation log before and after the injections of the CO2. Since both of the wells could not naturally flow, so we are doing artificial lift to be able for seeing the production from this well. So as comparisons for the timeline, in between 2 months, actually, after the first well, the second injections for the second well been done in the week 4 of December at the same year. So the aim is we will see and monitor the productions monitoring from both wells almost at the same time. At least we are having a gap like 2 months in between, but after that we can have for up to the 6 months, we can have both wells together for having some evaluation of the productions after the CO2 injection. So this is the general workflow that been performed for both wells for the CO2 injection. It was divided into 4, like what we have is the A, B, C, and D, and then in which the A is the pre-work for the wells itself, the B will be the CO2 injection, the C will be the soaking period, and the D part is the put on production. It mentions here for the pre-work operational, RST is it at a pink highlight been done at the A and the D. It means the pre-CO2 injections, we are having the RST, and then after the productions, you are having the RST as well after the post-CO2 injections over here. It's strongly emphasizing that while we were doing the selections of the wells, it's not yet mentioned over here, but we are having a strongly suggest that we need to choose the best well, the well with the best wells integrity. It's not yet mentioned in here that if needed, remedial cementing and performing the CBL usage or CASV will be required. And then bonding in but any wells that probably would have a candidate to have it. So this is we are entering the main injection on this part, and then this is how actually the injections and the flow on how the CO2 liquid being transported into the location. The CO2 came to the wells with in a liquid phase. So this is the ISO tank that we had for transporting the CO2 liquid. Since as we mentioned at the very beginning that since this is going to be a scale of a smaller scale, when we are doing 200 up to 250 tons, so the CO2 was transported or it was considered as a consumable. The CO2 received from the Subang plant. This is CO2 captures and liquefaction facilities. The CO2 came from the Subang, Pertamina Subang, and then it goes to the liquefaction plant that was owned by a private company. And then those liquid CO2 then transported from the Subang plant with the distance of 180 kilometers to the wells. This is the wells. In one of the ISO tank will consist of 20 tons of liquid CO2. It means for having 200 tons, we will have to pump in equal to 10 ISO tanks on locations on that one. So this is the injection process schematic. This is the ISO tank track. over here is the ISO tank truck, as what we are seeing at the movie, at the video before, and then it goes enter to the equipment over here. This is the equipment of the CO2 equipment, and then this is the pump, and then after that it goes to the electric heater. It's having the evaporators over here as well the electric heater before it goes to the wellhead. This is the wellhead. So on how the phase diagram is working on the injections process, it was starting from this number one. From the number one, if we can see from the temperatures, it came in the ISO tank over here as P1. P1 is starting from the -20 the P1 is actually over here with the pressures at 20 bars. And then it goes for the pump. After the pump, we are having the pressures is around 100 to several hundred psi over here. It goes then is still in the state of the liquid at the phase diagram, but we are increasing the temperatures over here as well the pressures that we had in this phase diagram. And then while we will reach the wellhead at the T3 over here, then it goes that we are having the phase changes into a vapor phase with the pressures that we had is around at the Jatibarang would be at 750 psi. Sorry, I might be, it's below 1000 psi in Jatibarang. So this is how it goes for the phase diagram. And then several challenges indeed what we are having is the 24 hours operation. We need to have a continuous pumping, and then how the CO2 phase handling on the surface. This is another challenges that probably we need to manage for not having some freezing before the pump, as well the mobility of the heavy equipment to make it in more arrangements and assessments for the ISO tank, as well for the extreme cold and hot job. We are having, since we are at the Q4 of the year, then we are having hot and Cirebon at that time, as well the rain. So this is something weather POV that we need to consider during the operations of 24 hours. And then after that, sorry. So this is actually the actual surface monitoring that we had in a real time in comparisons between the first well, the JTB161, and the second well of the JTB137. This one is the injections rate, and then this is the volume actually what we have. So the left graph is for showing the rate and the volume, and then at the right graph is for showing the wellhead pressures and the wellhead temperatures comparison. So it can be seen at the left graph for the first well that we are pumping up to 250 tons for the GTP161, and then the second well we are pumping up to 218 tons. The rate would be considered the same. As well, we can see that the stair behavior that we had over here, that is the injectivity with the CO2 before we are going into the stable injectivity for the main injection. So if anyone wants to have what would be the comparisons would be in comparisons of the wellhead pressures and the wellhead temperatures. So this is what we had in comparison. Since we are doing it at the same level, almost at the same level, and then so we are having almost similar for the wellhead pressures as well the temperatures and the wellhead. So in the early stage, it mentions here that wellhead pressures is higher pressure, is up to 1000 psi, and then it tends to decrease toward a similar trend line for the 161 into 800 psi during the injection. So this is the actual pumping chart of both wells in a surface monitoring. And then this is while we were downloading the gauge, comparisons between the Jatibarang 161 at the first well and the second well. We are deploying the memory gauge down to the tubular injections, and then we retrieve it back to see how it behavior comparisons, the pressures comparisons between bottom hole and the surface for both of the injections. So it can, from those gauge, it show clearly that we are having the reservoir pressures is around 760 psi. This is the one that we are having a stabilized. This is what we considered as the reservoir pressure. And during the injections, as we can see some increase over here, we monitor that we are having the injections in the range of 1500 to 1600 psi bottom hole during the injection. So the reservoir temperatures, as we can see over here, wait, let me see the reservoir temperature. The decrease during the injections, it can be shown over here. The reservoir temperatures was dropping around from the 90 degrees Celsius down to 80 degrees of Celsius during the injections of 200 tons. So it showed that both of the injections, while it reached the reservoir temperature, it's already in the supercritical phase. So actually that would be the first, Mbak Icha, for the first sessions of the presentation. So I would like to give back to Mbak Icha to start the Q&A, at least before we are taking it too long. It might be several of you in this presentations before would like for having a question. So Mbak Icha, I would like to give it back to you. If any questions from the audience, either in the chat box or directly, will be so much appreciated.
I think summarize what we already. So the first session is she explained in a very comprehensive way from the objective of these injections and then all the related aspects from the reservoir, subsurface, and then she also mentions in the video about the collaborations with the JobMec, and then she also mentions very complete with the operational workflow, Debby, and also she even show us as a lesson learned what is the injectivity result or injectivity monitoring both in surface and downhole. I think from that, all the explanations that they already mentioned in the first sessions, there must be a lot of questions, and we already have 3 questions in the chat box. Probably I could start from the beginning, the first one, Debby, and then after reading the questions, and all of the participants which already typed the question might also have a live interactions with you, Debby.
Yes, please, Mbak Icha.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the first question is actually very interesting because usually if we relate to the project, it is also related with the cost of project. So it is coming from Pak Hendarwin. Good morning, Pak Hendarwin. So Pak Hendarwin is.
Yes, good morning.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for the questions. Pak Hendarwin is asking to Mbak Debby about the cost model for this case, capturing, transporting, and storaging of CO2 in terms of US dollar per tons of CO2. Probably Mbak Debby will answer first, and then Pak Hendarwin will having interactions with Mbak Debby. Please, Mbak.
Thank you, Pak Hendarwin, for the questions. It's a bit, the questions is really challenging for me, actually, for us, actually, Pertamina. So since at this proof of concept, CO2 Huff and Puff, we knew that the cost would be, since as you can see that the cost would be from what we are calculating for the CO2 Huff and Puff in terms of the tons, the CO2 injections is in the range of a bit high still. So to be frank, the cost model for the case is the capturing one. Since we are not doing the capturing, we are buying the CO2, right? So in terms of US per CO2 tons, it ends up that we are in the range of 4,500 to 4,700 USD per ton. And why is that? Since I would like to say it in this floor, actually, the cost that we bear for both wells with injecting 468 tons of the CO2, it cost us around 2 million. And why is so expensive? Since to do the proof of concept over here, that we are having some consumables materials that we need to purchase. At this case would be for the CO2 liquid, in which the CO2 liquid price for this project probably one of the game changer in the later on, if we can have it capturing by ourselves from the gathering stations, probably for the next full field scale, that would be decrease the cost of the CO2, in this case is the US per CO2 tons over here, Pak Hendarwin. But indeed, for these projects, the emphasizing is not yet having the optimum cost for having this in economical way. I would strongly emphasize that, since this proof of concept is not considering yet so far for the economical of doing the CO2 Huff and Puff. But indeed, that is part of our evaluation for the pilot as well for the full field scale. So that's why at the very beginning it was mentioned that we are doing these projects together in collaborations with the partners, since we are sharing the cost as well at that period of time for this Jatibarang, we are also sharing the risk. That's the objective for the collaborations at that time. Hopefully it can answer at least several of your questions, Pak Hendarwin, but feel free if you want to add more questions, would be very welcome. Thank you.
Mbak Debby, I hope Pak Hendarwin already clear as well. Like questions, we could have another session.
No, thank you. I think it's enough. It's clear about the objective of this project. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mas Hendarwin.
We have another questions from Mas Doni Prisakti. Probably Pak Doni Prisakti could also open mic for questions, because this is actually he wants to see the equipment arrangement. Pak Doni, good morning.
Okay, the equipment arrangement. Hello. So let me open my video first. Yes. Yes, Pak Doni.
Yes, Bu.
Yes. In which slide that you want me to show the equipment arrangements over here? The slide 17 or the slide 18?
17.
17.
17 and 18.
17 and 18. Okay then. So,
Yeah.
Wait, I think I'm a bit hang over here. Let me share at the PDF slide first, okay? For a moment. Okay, it's going to be much more not heavy. Okay, let's
Bu,
have
if
it.
I have a quick, can I have a quick question, Bu?
Yes, please.
So during the when you before you start the injection treatment, are you the well control, or like, because it's because it's reckless, right, Bu? How to secure the well before you start pumping the CO2, Bu?
To secure the well, in this case, is we are having
Yeah.
it's not in detail mentions at this slide actually, Mas Doni. So before we are selecting the wells, one of the first monitoring for the wells is we are choosing the best with the well integrity. So we are monitoring from the sections A, sections B, and the section C. And then if we can see over here, every sections that we had over here is being monitored to ensure that one, we don't have any bubbles at the cellars over here. And then while we were doing the injection, we ensure that there is no communications in between the sections of the during the injectivity. So we knew that CBL is being evaluated. So we are choosing the well with no micro annulus or micro channeling. So since this well is not having any, at that time, the amplitude of the CBL is in the range of 5 to 10. So we knew by the 5 to 10 millivolts of the CBL VDL, we will considering that as a fair. But indeed, while we were doing the monitoring of the injections, before the injections, we are seeing, if you can see my my pointer over here, that this cellar, we are checking that there is no bubbles, at least for the a guess or considerations of any possible during injections. We are talking to the surface and everything. So we are mitigating that from the sections A, B, and C of the casing presence monitoring, Mas Doni.
Thank you.
And also we are
Understood.
having a
So it means
bleed offline for section C. Sorry, if you are, I don't know. Section C, I would consider that the one is at the very inner to the outer. So the section C in this case is from the tubing to the 7-inch of the casing, Mas Doni, in this case, the bleed offline. That's how we managed to have the well control during the injection.
Okay, so thank you, Bu. It means, yeah, Bu?
Is that answering your questions, Pak?
Yeah, thank you very much, Bu. It's very detailed.
Okay, thank you. So please, Bu Ica, I think it's better to have it 3 questions, and then I move to the next slide, Bu Ica. Yes.
So only one more. So this is from Malika Abimanyu. She is a student, I believe. She is from the UPN student chapter. So she has 2 interesting questions. But the first question is about how we do the screening, like candidate screening for CO2 injection, specifically for the reservoir. So I think it's very related as well for the first section. And the second question is also related to questions from Mas Valen. So Mas Valen also asked the same questions, which is what is going to be the operational risk and how to mitigate or prevent this operational risk for CO2 happen. I think we leave to those 2 questions at this session, and then all the other questions, which is also very interesting to be discussed, will be followed after the second sessions. Yeah, Mbak Debby.
Yes, Bu Ica.
Okay, please.
Okay, I will like to answer the first question from Malika. Thank you so much for all the questions from Malika and also Pak Valen. As well for the last 2 questions that I had. Thank you so much. So I would like to back to the apologize that I'm going back to with this PDF. The PDF would be this probably would answer a bit, at least hopefully, to answer to what Malika asking a question. So at the very first, when we were choosing this lapisan F in Jatibarang, we are having several layers. And then when we were picking this lapisan F, the first that why we are choosing this one is we want to see, we want to get the evac of the CO2. There are several of the factors and why we were end up with this reservoir F. And the very first is at that time is we are still seeing the possible to have the increase of the recovery factors of the this reservoir to be more optimized with the CO2 EOR. And then that's one of the selections criteria at that time within Pertamina for choosing. And then it goes continue with the, and why we were back to this lapisan F, since the depth, as we can see over here, the depth is in the 1,000 meters. So at that part, we are pretty deep enough for having the seal capacity while we were doing the CO2 injection. Why is that important? Since if we are thinking for the full field scale, we need to considering the fault and seal analysis while we were doing the CO2 full field scale. So when we end up with the lapisan F at this part, then we knew that 1,000 meter, and the choices why we choose with this lapisan F is that above and below of this lapisan F is having a seal cap or capacity, the cap rock, it will say like that. Even though I would say that we don't have core, sadly that we don't have core. Unfortunately, we don't have core to be able to have a more detailed geomechanics. I knew that there is Mbak Bella somehow in this in the audience. So I would say that we don't have any geomechanics so far that evaluation that we can have in more belief to get more details within static or dynamic. But that is at least two reasons on how we choose of this reservoir. And then for sure, since this reservoir is in the depleted one, as I mentioned to Mas Doni previously, we need to choose in a carefully way as well to answer Mas Valen. Several operational challenges would be one of our mitigations from the beginning. If I want to recall back the questions from Mas Valen, would be what would be the top operational risk that people should think about when they would like to do the CO2 Huff and Puff? I would say that probably in our operational, I believe Mbak Icha in our operational could add more. It's Mbak Icha is not only the moderator, but she is also the one who's doing the operations at that time. But in our operational way, what we would like in correlate with the reservoir is we need to ensure that the CO2 that we had right now is going to do the injections optimally to as a part of the proof of concept that we have over here. So the CO2 injection is different with what we are pumping the nitrogen unload or everything. Since considerations, the top considerations that we would like to give is we don't want to have a corrosion along the tubular injection. So in anyhow, in if anyone wants to have what will be the most operational critical that we have during the CO2 Huff and Puff, I would considering to have injectivity first to be done. And probably if you are having a low quality reservoir at this probably one of your candidates, or if you are having the reservoir is pretty one is tight enough or it's probably virgin enough to have a CO2 injection, then injectivity preliminary, even though with the water and everything, I would strongly suggest that it needs to be done prior to do the CO2 injection. It mentions at the workflow, the injectivity with the CO2 was done as well. The range of the permeability in this carbonate reservoir, as we knew, that it is very heterogeneity. So one is what we are trying to do in operational way. There are mitigations that probably the perforation, probably plugging or everything. So that's why we don't want to have all the operations. It's there, the CO2 is there, but it could not be pumped. That is one of some operational that we need to mitigate since the beginning at this CO2 injection. So we need to ensure we have a plan, backup plan, as well understanding to our reservoir that while we were doing the CO2 injections half and puff, the CO2 can be injected into the reservoir. That probably something that we need to have in mind since the very beginning. I think that's what the answers for the both questions, Mbak Ica. Hopefully it can answer a bit for Mbak Malika as well, Mas Valen. But feel free to ask more in the chat box if there are something that I might be missed or not answering directly to your question. So I will return it back to you, Mbak Ica, before I'm continuing the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mbak Debby. Seems like the questions more and more, but let's continue the question and answering sessions after the next presentations. So, Mbak Debby will have another 2 subsections to present and to explain within the last probably several minutes. And then after that, we will reopen the questions and answers. And I hope all of the questions in this chat box could be answered and addressed, because all of this is very interesting questions, Mbak Debby. So
Yes.
please to continue the next session, Mbak Debby.
Okay.
Over
Thank
to you
you.
back.
So I think we are entering into the operations activities. Will be lots of pictures over here, and I will read this a bit quick. So this is the equipment that we are using. In detail, Mbak Ica probably would answer this much better on it, because we are proudly mentioned that Mbak Ica is part of the team from NESR that doing this operational executions in Jatibarang. So this is something that we are monitoring during the job. This is the upper part. Those would be the monitor that we are monitoring for 24 hours. So we are having the pressure rate and temperatures monitoring in seconds basis. So the fit for purpose equipment will be required for CO2 half and puff in this one, portable and agile. And then the equipment will be electric driven. It is easy for remote control. And one thing for sure is that for the pump needs for having 100% redundancy of the horsepower. So if one pump down, the other pump could be directly to replace, and then we are not going to have the NPT during the operation. So this is the pictures on how the locations that we have during the Jatibarang, the wellhead, we have the connections line, as well on locations prior to do the puff or productions monitoring, we are having the testing unit. So this is the EPF or the early productions facilities. This is where the puff or where the the hydrocarbon before it goes to the venting line to have the sample for the gas, water, as well for the condensate. So this is the separator. It was called separator. It was reading the button chart, and then we're having the processing data on site, and then the liquid tank for temporarily to receive the liquid after it separates. This is for the oil only, and then we are also having the venting gas. Since the Jatibarang is not yet a closed system, so we are having this gas venting to be able to flare while we were having the hydrocarbon at that time, during the daylight only. So this is the gas sampling from the separator, and then this is the liquid sampling from the separator as well. And then this is how we are sampling during the operation. It can be seen. I'm not finishing the video, but that is where we are retrieving the liquid or the condensate, and then after that, all the samples will taken to the lab. Fortunately for Jatibarang, we are having a internal lab in Mundu, that we do the compositional analysis for the gas. We are doing the PVT for the oil as well, the water analysis for the sampling of the water. This is the lab that what we have in Jatibarang, and this is owned by Pertamina Cirebon asset. The detail of the analysis and the result will be further discussed next week. Hopefully you don't miss that, since something interesting, there is a lot of interesting results that we had after this CO2 injection. So this is how the packer as well, the tubing after the injections. If you want to see, is there any rust? So you can see this is the how it looks for the tubing after the CO2 injection. So I will say that corrosions after the injections would say it is very less likely. I would say that because it's just a 5 days injections, but probably it will be much different if we are doing it for the long time period for the CO2 flooding. So this is the string joints as well the packer, and this is the EMR or the gauge that we are using to retrieve the bottom hole pressures and temperatures after the CO2. The quick look show there is no significant changes of the injection string. So I would say the corrosion is not yet monitoring during the 5 days of CO2 injection. So this is some challenges that we have. This is actually the real pictures on the locations that we had in Jatibarang. We are surrounded by sawah-sawah at that time. So the operational challenges for sure is we are having very struggle for having the logistic arrangements on how the logistic could support in a 24-hour basis. As mentioned before, when we are doing injections for 200 tons, it means we are having around 10 ISO tanks to back and forth to go into the wells and ensure that we don't have any downtime. It can seem since we are having the onshore operations, so any weather, it could have what we had is probably a stranded ISO tank due to the weather or due to the soil. So this is something challenges that we had during the operation. And then since we are using the gas lift, the supply stability of the gas lift, that is another challenges for us. It might be different for other locations, but somehow this is one of the challenges for having a stable gas lift supply for us to be able having the stable production. So bad weather, it can be seen over here, it was rain. And when it rains, all the mud and all the soil will be very muddy. So we need to be careful on that. And then this is the lesson learned. I will say that if anyone wants to have, so what would be the productions after the CO2? In details, it will be described later on next week by Mas Aras, but this is a teaser. Actually, for both wells, we are having in average production rate increase is around 64 to 86 productions increase after the CO2 injection. It's not prolonged that long, since we knew that what we are pumping the injection volume is not that many and it's not a flooding CO2, but it will give us more a positive result or positive response from the reservoir that we are having a strong belief while we were doing the CO2 flooding, this reservoir could hopefully would really have a good incremental production if we are going into the full field scale. And then if anyone wants to have, what will be the CO2 recovery, whether all the CO2 injected will be going back with the productions or some of it will be stored in the reservoir. Then with this graphic or with this table or the graph, I would say that when we are having the cumulative injections of the CO2 is 4.8 mmscf, and that we are producing only 1.5 mmscf. It means 70% of the CO2 that we are injecting was stored over there. So when we were talking about the carbon footprint decarbonization, while doing at least the proof from this CO2 Huff and Puff would say that from 100% of the CO2 injected, 30% is going back with the productions, and then 70% stored down there. So that is one of the result that we had with the CO2 half and puff. So I think that is the lesson learned that we had, as well the subsurface and then operational. And the subsurface characterizations of the reservoir need to have required continuation, since half and puff itself was not enough for having reservoir characterization. We need to have the interference well. That's why it mentions minimum of 2 well flooding tests would be required. And then the injection sensitivity rate and volume during interval operations would be needed. So when we are having interference well, if we are pumping in these operations as 80 tons per day, it was equal to 1.5 mmSCFD. So for interference well, will probably need more than that, and it will need more volume than that. And then comprehensive geochemistry study, it will require, since what we had in this both wells is having possibility for having the scale occurrence. As well, the asphaltum test and then solubility of CO2 in water would be strongly recommended. Operational, as been asked before, pre-work and integrity and well control would be mandatory to be assessed. CO2 pumping equipment, pre-inspection check and performance check, as well the function test would be needed in collaborate with the technology provider. And then since we are doing the half and puff, utilizations of the CO2 liquid as consumables materials would be one thing that probably a bit hard and a hurdle due to logistics arrangement as well for the price wise. So that is what we had for the lesson learned, subsurface and operational. And that would be my last slide. And then last one, I would like to acknowledge these partners, parties, stakeholders, as well our technology provider. So I believe this is my last slide, Mbak Icha. So we can continue for the next Q&A session. If in anyhow the audience want to ask directly, just feel free for asking. Thank you so much, Mbak Icha and everyone.
Thank you, Mbak Debby. I think questions is more and more because you are very competent agents. And I think we start with questions from Mas Alan Muhajir. So this is a very interesting question as well. It is also related to well last questions that you answered before starting the next session is about the well integrity. So how to make sure that the CO2 being injected is flowing to the correct reservoir, not to the other reservoir. For example, like through behind the casing chain. Probably there is some of the clue of preventive and mitigations to prevent this kind of well integrity related, Mbak Debby, please.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Icha. Thank you, Alan, for the question. Actually, if you are asking about how to make sure that the CO2 being injected is flowing to targeted reservoir, not to other reservoir, the only thing so far that we are having is we need to ensure that we are having a good well integrity. Since if we are not having any tracers or everything to do the injections with the CO2, as long we are opening only one single interval, and then the interval as mentioned that we had is one open perforations only into the selected target. In this case of Jatibarang is the lapisan F. It means the only way that we can ensure is we would rely on the CBL and the USIT or the CASP that we run prior of the CO2 injection. So we knew that CBL is not entering about the microchanneling or through behind the casing channeling, but if in anyhow any doubt, it needs to be answered before the CO2 injection. So microannually and everything, it means you have to good cement bond lock prior to do the CO2 injection. That is one of the mitigations that needs to be ensured before doing any CO2 injection. As well, to have the the cement behind casings would evaluated thoroughly, and then that is at least for our case, that is the one of the ensures to have the CO2 is injected into the targeted reservoir. It means after the squeeze improve bonding, you need to check it as well for how the improvement with the CBL as well. So if you are having an issues with the cement, you need to have the CBL before and after the remedial cementing. That's how to ensure. Hopefully, and answers your questions, Alan. But feel free to ask more and or to speak up if you want to add more questions on it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Let's answer my question. Maybe I can suggest you, let's say, to run maybe temperature logs to make sure that your gas is flowing to the right reservoir. Should be easy using the memory gauges. And from the last discussion of your plan to do it in Sukowati, I think you will have a slick line unit and EMR gauges as well, right?
Indeed, yes, for sure,
Yeah.
Mas Alan.
So during the injection, I think you can do pressure and temperature recording, logging, let's say. So then you will know where the temperature changes is.
Oh, you mean to do the like PBMS or something like that?
Like PBMS, yes, correct. But you have a cheaper option, right? Or at the field right now, you have a slick. You will have a slick line unit
Slick
with
line.
EMR.
Yeah.
EMR is enough to get the temperature profile, but you will need to add maybe depth time recorder on the slick line unit. So then you will get a depth log, depth continuous log.
Okay, noted. Actually, one of the lesson learned that we had from the Jatibarang that we would like to improve on the next projects, as you being having a teaser like Sukowati actually for the next one, is we would like to do the surface readout of the real-time operations of the pressures and the temperatures. It's not yet done. It's not yet done in Jatibarang, but we would like for having it done later on in Sukowati. That hopefully need your everyone blessed for the Sukowati projects could be done very soon. And then at that project, hopefully we can have more detail of the temperatures and the pressures during the injection. So we will have live real-time operations of the temperatures and the pressures across dynamically across the tubular injections, Mas Alan. But
that will be great.
Yes, yeah, that's why something that we would like to have more evaluations to answer the questions that you had right now as well. Thank you so much for the advice.
And actually, you are working with NESR and TrueLog, right?
Yes, right. Yes, and for the Sukowati, yes.
Those two service provider actually having another more advanced services, which is a noise log. NESR have run a lot of noise log in Pertamina geothermal to identify weather injection and
that's really
channeling
good
behind the casing.
So I would like if this one could be answered directly to from Mbak Ija later on for the noise log.
Thank you, Mas Alan.
Correct, Mbak Ija, you have it, right?
Thank you. So yeah, Mbak Debby already also give a teaser that there will be another injections with the Sukowati field, yeah, Mbak Debby. So I hope there will be another sessions of the technical discussion group like this with the improved technical justifications and then improved technical implementations that already arranged by Mbak Debby and the team.
And also actually, NESR having the CTU and they can put fiber optic, so then you can have distributed temperature sensing as well.
DTS, that's really good. I'm hoping that it's covered at the scope of work that we had next one in the next project, but at least as the analog from this well, actually we don't have yet, but for Jatibarang. So, but hopefully for that is one of the lesson learned that we will do for the next project, Mas Alan. Thank you so much for the DTS and DAS. that is something that really improvement for the next monitoring of the any CO2 injection.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Mbak Debby. Mbak Ica.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mas
Mas
Alan.
Alan.
All right, so Mbak Debby, we still have some of the interesting questions. I think I will go with the questions from Pak Ade Setiawan first. So Pak Ade is asking about core test, but actually you already mentioned that within this Jatibarang project, no core test or core learning that has been done due to the limitations of the core. Probably you could explain more. But there is also questions which is very interesting from Pak Ade. How do we know the maximum injections limit of the formations to maintain or keep CO2 within the formations? And also there is one relatable questions from Mbak Jati Agustina. She's asking about do you use any tracer during injections to detect where the CO2 gas? So it's about how to limit or how to kind of know what is the maximum injections limit of the CO2 in the formations, and the other ones is asking how do we predict the CO2 path during the injections. Please, Mbak Debby.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Ica. Very first, I would like to answer what Mas Ade is asking at the very beginning. So we knew the limitations for any injections if the frac pressure itself, right? So in this Jatibarang, we are having information of the MMP or far above the frac pressure. So that's why we are limiting for the pressures. It needs to go below the frac pressures in this case. It was showing at this graph actually from the data that we retrieve from the gauge is we are having the pressures of the bottom hole is around the 1600 psi, and then what we are trying to mitigate, what we had is we are doing the simulations with the pipe sim, Mas Ade. So it's not yet put in this slide. So actually that is another teaser for the next week that will be presented by the next presenter, Mas Aras, that we were doing the simulations to see what would be the validations on how bottom hole and then wellhead pressures correlations. So what I show you here is it's showing that, wait, let me back over here actually. This is only the bottom hole pressure. So this is what we have. This is the bottom hole pressure. When you are seeing this only, the one that we have up at the upper part, this is the wellhead pressures that we are seeing. So if in anyhow, we are limiting our wellhead pressures with the calculations, you know that to convert from the wellhead to the bottom hole, we need to consider the hydrostatic as well the friction. So when the limitations of our case is the frac pressures, so that's why that's how we were seeing to ensure that the wellhead pressures that we got in surface will not be as high to exceed the frac pressures. And then since we don't have the real time of the bottom hole, so that's how we are mitigating for not exceeding that one. And from the simulations of the pipe sims, we knew that with the range of the wellhead pressures that we had over here, we are not going to exceed the frac pressures. It means while we were having this stable of the wellhead pressures with no tend to increase suddenly, we knew that we don't have any plugging. And then the second one, we are ensuring that the CO2 goes into the reservoir as we are expecting. To be added to my previous statement to Mas Alan, sorry, I think the first is to Mas Alan, I might be wrong about the integrity. As long we are ensuring the integrity of the cement behind the casing is good, above, below, and within the interval, then I would like to say that when we were doing the injections, it goes to the targeted reservoir that we want to see the effect of the CO2 in this case. So hopefully that is answers the question from Mas Ade. And then after that, I would like to answer the one from Mbak Jati. Mbak Jat, if I can be reminded, Mbak Icha, the question from Mbak Jati is, do we use any tracers during injections to detect?
Yeah.
No, we don't have any use. We don't use any tracers during the CO2 injection. So that is something that what we are trying to find as a lesson learned for the any upcoming project. But unfortunately, up until now, we don't have in half and puff the tracers. The tracers is not yet there, or not yet. The technology is not yet convenient to have it injected from and produced at the same well, Mbak Jati. It having several technology provider. If we are having interference well, it's called SWTT, single well traceable tracer, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not an expert on that, but it will goes nicely if you are having interference one. So you are injecting tracers from one well, injector well, and then you are monitoring those wells from the other well. In this case, it's from the producer's well. But for the CO2 half and puff, either from this project or for the upcoming project, we are not having any attempt to do any tracers so far. I think hopefully that answers the questions, but feel free if you are having any advice, if possible for us to do the tracers, we are very welcome to any suggestions, Mbak Jati. Thank you.
Okay. Mbak Debby, I
Yeah.
think those two questions already answered. We have another questions. This is related to your corrosion study based on the monitoring that has been done in the previous project in Jatibarang. So there is a question from, apologize, this is Mbak Sani or Mas Sani. So, and the other one is from Mbak Annisa Susilawati. So these two questions is related to material selections and also related to corrosion study. So the questions is, you already explained actually regarding the corrosion monitoring result, but could you please also elaborate with the casing or tubing or material grade selections for the CO2 injections process? And you might also give a clue what do we use on the last injections and what is actually recommended for the long-term injections process. Please, Mbak Debby.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mbak Cha. It is related with the corrosion monitoring. I think what I put in a detail is in this operations activities while we are having the strings over here. Hopefully it can show. So with the CO2 half and puff, the only mitigation, we are not using any fancy or premium tubing with the chrome at all. So why is that? Since we knew that we are trying to seek some advice from our experts in Pertamina, since the reasons of it is, since we are doing a short, considered as a short injections of the CO2, it means we are not exposing the CO2 in a long period of time. And then, so that's why we are considering to use it with non-premium one. But the mitigations being done is for the injections of the CO2, we are using the new tubular. So the new tubular, if I could explain here, we are using 3.5 inch of the tubular with a 9.3 ppf as the ponder, and then I believe that it is L80 for the grade. We all knew that for any high resistance to alloy, it needs to have like a chrome 133 or 135 or something like that. we are not using it in our CO2 half and puff, but the mitigations is we are using the new tubular for both injections of those two wells. And then at the surface, apologize that I'm not putting it into this slide, that we are using the corrosion coupon. So somewhere around here, somewhere around, I think here, somewhere here, we are putting the corrosion coupon to check at least is there any deteriorations in the coupon itself while we were doing the puff. And then it showed that during the 3 months, it's insignificant, at least for 3 months, there is insignificant corrosion happens in the coupon itself. But indeed, this is something monitoring of corrosions. We need to have a more study on it, since it might be different if we are doing it for the continuous injections of the CO2, like in the pilot with interference, or even in the flooding or in the full field scale. So this corrosions monitoring is something that we need to evaluate or to have a study in more detail to be able to answer some questions related to the corrosion rate and everything. But I believe that for the CO2 half and puff and then pilot, the selections materials would be different, since the half and puff is for short period of time of injection. But for the long-term injections, I would strongly suggest that in more detailed study for using the high-grade tubular injections would be strongly suggested, as well for the cement that we are going to do. It might be it needs for the CO2 resistant cement to be able to handle the longer period time of the CO2 injection in this time. So hopefully that would answer Mbak Icha, unless I might miss any questions that probably you've been asked from the audience in this case.
Yeah, I think it's already covered the questions related to the concern about the corrosions and high concentrations of CO2 to the casing and tubular. And I believe Mbak Debby also adding some notes about the CO2 resistance material in terms of the cementing, Mbak Debby. So
yep.
This is another thing that must be considered by the company to design for the injection well. And Mbak Debby, we have one interesting question. This is from actually two questions that is related from Mbak Cindy and Mas Andrean. So the question is, what is the next plan for the lesson from Jatibarang?
Mbak Icha, I think there's something wrong with the microphone.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's
okay.
clear now.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, it's fine.
All right. So I think one more questions which is in the chat box. So from Mbak Cindy and Mas Andrean. So what is the way forward and what is the learning curve from the Jatibarang half and puff to the other field applications? And also, do you have or Pertamina have a plan to deploy this half and puff at a bigger scale, more well in Jatibarang or even in a field scale? And what is going to be the strategy to optimize the margin for these bigger scale operations? I think those two questions is relatable. Mbak Debby, please your answer.
Thank you so much. I would like to give my appreciation for the questions from Mbak Cindy and from Andrean in this one. Thank you for coming, Mbak Cindy and Andrean. This two would be one of the supporters, moreover Mbak Cindy in this case as well. Mbak Cindy, for the questions that you've been asking in this one is, what is the next plan for the applying the learning from the Jatibarang? As been teased by several audience over here, that since the implementation so far that we are going to do with the CO2 half and puff is still related with the CO2 EOR. So the projects that we are trying to have an improvement for the lesson learned that we had in Jatibarang is still related to the CCUS or the CO2 EOR. There are one other field that hopefully by very soon that we will apply the another CO2 half and puff would be in the Sukowati. So the learnings that we had specifically in the Jatibarang, for Jatibarang itself is, I would like to answer that we need to have in next phase is doing the interference well, in which probably the learning curve that we had, we knew that we have a positive response from the CO2 half and puff. So we want to accelerate, or we want to leverage, we want to leverage the scale of the CO2 injection to be in more field scale, or at least we can start from 2 wells in an adjacent one. So, but we are having several learning curves from that one, as it's not mentioned here that geochemistry still needs to be studied. Furthermore, as well, the suggestions before about the corrosion. So what we had the next for Jatibarang from the lesson learned is we need to do, or we want to do the interference test or the pilot test in between 2 wells. So one injector and one producer. And then we will do that in a continuous injection. The continuous injections, so far, the plan is to do it at least continuous injections for 3 months period. But now we are seeking at least the CO2 source and how to make it in continuous way. Since at the very beginning, it mentions, I answered to Mas Hendarun questions at the very first, the cost for the CO2, if we are not capturing ourselves, or if we are not providing by ourselves, it will be hit our cost. So it's going to be something that we need to bear if we are doing it as a project base, for be able to do these projects to be in more economical way. So if it needs to have an integrated from the surface, also the subsurface, to be able to leverage these projects in more economical and not marginal. So we are still having a homework for having the CO2 capturing and transportation to be able to make an interference test or the pilot test to be conducted in more continuous way, Mbak Cindy. But that's for Jatibarang. But at least for the other projects in the other field, to have a repetition of the CO2 half and puff will be done very soon in the other locations in Pertamina's area by this year, hopefully. And then several lessons learned has been mentioned also to answer Mas Alam. Several lessons learned to have a monitoring in more details in a subsurface will be done. And hopefully it will help us to have more, to minimize the uncertainties of the reservoir characterization. That is something that we will do in a specific Jatibarang or in the other area. And then that is as well to answer to Andrean about is there any plan to deploy half and puff at scale in more wells in Jatibarang. In Jatibarang, we are not having any plan yet so far to do any more half and puff. But what we have to be in the next one, as mentioned before, is we are doing to do the interference wells. So if the questions later on questions about what is the unknown, how to optimize the margin for this scaled operation, for doing any more half and puff, it is very interesting. But we knew that anything that is temporary, the result of the productions will be temporary as well. So that's why the aim is for having in more continuous scale to be able more continuous productivity. So that is the goals or the objectives for further evaluation for CO2 EOR in Jatibarang. We knew that the injection is not that long. So we knew that the result of the injections half and puff, we could not expect for having such a long period of time to be prolonged. So that's why to be able for having a more production, we need to have more continuous injections of the CO2. As well for having in a proof way for the full scale, then how many recovery factor that we could obtain while doing the CO2 injection. That's the aim for Jatibarang for the next phase, actually, Andrea. Hopefully, this is answering the questions from you. So that's the answer from me, Baja, from 2 questions. Hopefully, it can answer, and I'm hoping feel free to answer it again to my emails if there is any further question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Baja.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Debby. I think that is really a very good answering way to Mbak Cindy and Mas Andrean questions, and that could be a kind of way forward or teaser or the clue from Mbak Debby for what will be Pertamina objective or plan for the CO2 injection. So um, the previous one that has been done is a half and puff, and then the next one will be the interference wells, and the next one will be something more continuous, continuous injections. But let's wait for Mbak Debby and team when will it be done, and this could be more interesting, I believe. So at the end, we are all here expecting that this could be one of the solutions on or one of the good approach of our nations to be able to implement the CCUS. Maybe probably you have some of the words before closing the presentation. So after this, we are going to have a photo sessions and probably 2 more words from you. What is your personal opinion or let's say expectations with the CCUS implementations or energy transition implementations in Indonesia? And you probably also could have some teaser with Mas Arasi for the next presentation next week, because next week also will be very interesting and very technical, Mbak Debby. And I hope some of the participants in this room also able to join next week. So please, Mbak Debby.
Okay, thank you, Baja. First, I would like to have thank you so much for having my Vice President of URTI to come at this as an audience. Bu Mary, thank you so much for the attendance. So much honored and appreciated for you to come at this session. Also, lots of colleagues and friends that we had over here in the audience. Several is leaving already, but so much appreciate for that. So some words from me is we knew it's not easy to do everything based on our expectations for doing the CO2 EOR or CO2 injections in any wells or any field. We have to have a thorough technical evaluations and everything, but we never knew unless we try, for sure. It's like a song, actually. So, but for sure, for anything that you have in mind, we are having the source for CO2. We are having the field, and what we are needing is for having this knowledge sharing is going to be very valuable for every one of us, no matter from which company that we had. I knew that any sharing, any knowledgeable sharing, that I'm having a lot of help from other company as well. I would like to put to Mas Andri that we had that to be able the key I think we'll say the game changer or the key opener for us having the more confidence to do any implementations. I'm having my friend here, Mbak Cindy, that we both are several times as having a sharing for how the CCUS and then the CCS at the next step to be able to be to make it real in Indonesia, Mbak Ica. But at least for now, I would say that even though we are not having in several ways the carbon is as mentioned by a lot of the questions here, is not yet economical or in a marginal way, but at least we were trying to do some optimizations in which the CO2 injections with the half and puff approach will be one of the simpler practical and economical to be started in several evaluations related to the CO2 award. I think that's some keys that I would like to emphasize. Again, I would like to say to all the audience as well, the same moderators will be the same for the next week. Result and analysis is going to be much more interesting rather than this overview. So I would say that Mas Aras next week, please don't miss that one. Please, all the difficult questions could be asked, could be scoot to the next week as well, to be able for you having in more answered questions in your mind, because result and analysis is another step that we would like to share to all the audience in the SPE. Since I know that operational way is done, but the result way, if you are asking when the result, the production is increased, and then what else should we do? I think that's teaser for the next week. Mbak Ija.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Mbak Debby. I would like also to thank you for all the knowledge sharing that has been given to us today. So I marked some of the highlights from what you mentioned in this closing statement. So you mentioned that we actually have the source for the CCUS implementations. We have the carbon itself, and then we have the geological layer. We have the source to implement all of these CCUS things. But we have to do some of the things to speed up the optimizations and implementations. One of it is the knowledge sharing between one company to others company, between one experience to other experience, to gain the confidence and to speed up the optimization. And I think with this technical discussion group, with this kind of forum, this could be one of the way to share knowledge between one to others. I see a lot of participants coming from some of the parties, different parties, the companies that could be probably for the future also implement the same technology. And also some of them is coming from the services company, and then some of them is coming from the regulators and also some other related institutions. So I think this technical discussion group will be one of the good forums. So thank you also SPE Java sections to bring this technical discussions group for all of us. So one more things before we close this sessions, we would like to have a photo session. So I would like to invite all the participants and all of the guests to open the video, and then the committee will take a picture for all of us so that everyone will know that a lot of interesting interest persons join to this session. So please open the camera, and probably could be led by Mas Valen for capturing the picture.
Thank you, Mbak Annisa. It's going to be led by Mbak Fanya. Thank you, everybody, for still in this room. Bear with us. It's going to be like another 5 to 10 minutes. So, Mbak Fanya, floor is yours.
Okay, Mas Valen. Everyone ready? Okay, I will wait the
Mary, terima kasih kehadirannya, everyone. I would like to welcome my
Great
VP,
presentation.
Bu Mary.
Congratulations.
Terima kasih, Bu Mary.
Okay, everyone smile, please.
Wait. I would like to say hello to Mas Arif Bagus Prasetyo. That we had Saras Nur Hidayat over there. Mas, nice for having you there.
Congratulations. It's a great job.
Will do.
Okay, everyone ready? Okay, please smile in 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, one more time. Smile in 3, 2, 1. Okay, you got it. Back to you, Mas Valen. Thank you, everyone.
Minta tolong fotonya Mas Arif di-emphasize ya, Bapak Valen ya. Ini. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Apologize for the impact.
So we still have several slides. Bear with us. So thank you so much, Mbak Debby, Mbak Nisa, for a very good session. This is actually the end of our technical discussion group session. But before that, please let us share some appreciation moment first to both of you, speakers and moderators. We would like to give a token of appreciation. I will invite Mbak Dian to do that first for Mbak Debby for her really good presentation and for her to share the time and also the knowledge for us to have this really good discussion this morning. Over to you, Mbak Dian.
Thank you, Mas Valen. Mbak Debby, as a token of appreciation from SPE Java Indonesia section, we would like to present this e-certificate to you. So we hope this shows our great appreciation for your time and your effort to share your valuable knowledge with all of us. Really, really appreciate it, Mbak. So for everyone, let's unmute and give a big round of applause to Mbak Debby. Yeah? Let's unmute.
Thank you,
Mbak Debby.
Thank you.
Thank you,
What a
Bu
great
Mary.
job.
Thank you for
I'm
all the
so
support.
sorry. I have problem with my video, but it's
That's okay, Bu
wonderful. It's
Mary.
very a great job and great team. Keep it up.
Thank you, Bu. Thank you so
Thank
much for all the
you.
support.
And likewise to Mbak Annisa, Mbak Icha, yeah, we would also like to present this certificate to you. Thank you very much for your contribution and for your volunteering work, yeah, here to help us with our program. Appreciate for your help to run the session very smoothly. So once again, let's give a big round of applause to the moderator and both the speakers, Mbak Debby and Mbak Icha. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So before we go, Mbak, let's go take a documentation, ya, Mbak Fanya. Mbak
Yes,
Icha,
Mbak
if you
Debby.
can turn on your camera, both with Mbak Debby certificate and Mbak Icha's Mbak Fanya, ya.
Oh, okay. Okay, now, okay. Smile in 3,
Mbak
2,
Debby
1.
first.
Mbak Debby first. Okay, got it. Next.
Next is Mbak Icha's certificate.
All right, Mbak Dian.
Okay.
Thank you, Mbak Fanya.
Makanya Mbak Dian.
Mbak Dian, thank you so much. It was great for becoming part of the SPE Java sections, as always.
Thank you very much for your time, Mbak.
Thank you, Mbak Dian. Thank you, everybody. So
Over back to you,
people are
Mas Valen, ya.
people are sending out very fast, but don't forget to really provide your feedback to us by using that QR link in the screen. We really need that so then we have our improvement later on in our future section. And also don't forget that we will have this second session. You can have the link in the screen for registering for that second session. And that's all for today. Also, don't forget to renew or register as FP member to enjoy all the benefit and opportunity. And stay tuned and keep up to date with our event and activities. Follow us on our social media, such as Instagram and LinkedIn. And we will also post our recording later on whenever it's available in our YouTube channel. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice
you.
weekend, everyone.
Have a nice
Thank you for
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak
Bye-bye.
Debby.
Mbak,
Have a
makasih
nice
banyak
weekend,
ya, Mbak
everyone.
Debby.
See you next
Bu
week.
Mary. See you next week.